Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome back to Playbook. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being on time. I greatly appreciate it. I'm Stephen Lippman. I'm one of the coaches here with Chirag Shah Coaching. I'll be filling in for Chirag today as we walk through creating a consistent and predictable client experience. So what we'll do is we'll give it a minute here for everybody to log on. And then if you've seen David do this or anyone else who's filled in for Chirag has some pre-recorded material. We'll go through that. That's about 10 to 11 minutes. And after that, I've got a little bit of content that I'd like to add on to that material. And then we'll open it up for discussion and Q&A. All right. If you're just joining us, again, welcome. I know I started a little early for all my early birds here. I appreciate that. So Herson, let's go ahead and start the video for Chirag, and then we'll go from there.
Good morning and happy Monday, everybody. I hope everyone has a great start to their week. So as we continue down this road of predictable income, we're going to talk about likely to sell today and some great email scripts and phone scripts. Now, obviously, we have to start with the mindset first. Look, our clients, the people in our likely to sell database, pretty much anyone in America today is subjective to news headlines. And news headlines generally drive fear to create engagement. You can look at The Real Deal, who constantly is putting Compass down with these stupid headlines that make no sense, but it creates engagement. Thus, that's how their business model works. So let's think about this. If you're a seller right now and you're hearing all this information about inflation, high interest rates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, number one, we can always have a choice to take a powerful perspective on what the market is. We need to be able to share actual data with people that give them the reality of their personal situation. So the first thing is understanding that we have the information, they don't. What they have is fear, their current mindset, and what the news headlines are telling them, and their friends and family, which in most cases, I know in this business, as well as you do, is not correct. Now, the next thing that we want to realize is that we have to frame the conversation. Framing the conversation, in essence, means I want to create a scenario where someone will want to engage in the conversation that I want to have, knowing it's their direct benefit. That's the way that you set the frame up in this conversation. What we do know is fact number one is since COVID, there have been record gains in home equity. In many markets, they're having compounded 20+% year over year annual gains. In markets like Florida, the numbers are beyond impressive. I remember in 2021, there was one neighborhood in Coconut Grove that the median home price the year before was $789 and went up to $1.9 million in a year. So people are sitting on more equity than they could imagine. So you don't know someone's personal situation, but you also don't want to come across as salesy. So let me share these scripts. We'll talk through the email templates, the client responses. Remember, the number one reason that you are not willing to send this information is because you're afraid at what people will say. And so we want to address and pre-frame those objections up front and give you the dialogues and the words to say. So let me share my screen. So this is our first email template. And as you can see in the subject line, I put the person's name. Now, when you put people's names in the subject line, the likelihood of them opening significantly goes up because it feels personal. It says, Shrag, it's time for your equity analysis. I would say, well, what is that? So I'd say, hey, Shrag, I was just at my financial planner reviewing my portfolio and the total amount of equity I have in it, which made me really think about this article that I read previously. Well, when you go to the article, it talks about in housing market gained $6.9 trillion in 2021. So it's an old article, but as you see how we frame the conversation, it made me think of them. Now, if I'm reading this article, this will start piquing my interest. My realization was there might be a lot of people just as interested in their home equity analysis as in their, I would say, as similar to their financial portfolio. So if you or anyone would be interested in equity analysis of their home, simply let me know. If not, I hope you're doing well. No need to respond. Have a great day. Now, in the phone scripts, we talk about the changing market and everything like that. And this is where really A/B testing comes in. A/B testing is a method where you try two different emails to two different segments of the audience to see how people respond. So if you're interested in taking the next level to this, I would put your own little spin on this and talk about the changing market. And I like using the words, every homeowner has the right to know the equity in their home. When you use the word has the right, it empowers the other person. So here are the common client responses that scare people. I don't know why you're sending me this information and everything else like that. Like, I have no interest in selling my home. Let me get rid of this like here. I have no interest in selling my home. I don't even know how you got my information. I understand what you're saying. I got really excited to share this information. So many people we've spoken to are interested in their home's equity in a changing market. Again, my apologies. I'll take you off my email list and I'll not email you again. I hope you're doing well. And if I can be helpful in the future, please let me know. Very simple. If that's what they say, that's what you respond. Here's another version. Chirag, as I speak with more and more clients, one of the consistent themes is the amount of equity clients have built in their home over the last 2 years. This article highlights the used housing market actually gained over $6 trillion in 2021, and the homeowners are benefiting from that tremendously. Therefore, I've been doing a lot of equity analysis for clients as they look to gain a full picture of their financial portfolio, especially in a changing market. So if you or anyone would be interested in equity analysis of their home, simply let me know. If not, I hope you're doing well. No need to respond. Have a great day. Same exact objection handler. Now, let's go to the phone scripts. Now, what I want you to do with this email script, I would email every single likely to sell. Again, I would email all of the people that bought a house, and I'd start from 2020, everyone that bought a house during COVID. You'd be surprised how many people are looking to move up right now. And if you look at it, what you can save in a purchase price today is probably better than what you can get in an interest rate. Remember, an interest rate can change, a purchase price can't. So that is something that you'll want to start thinking about and really know the numbers. So if I was calling you, I'd say, hey, John and Chirag from Compass, how are you? Hey, John, can I help you with something? This is for somebody that's slightly reluctant, as they're likely to sell, so we might not know everyone. We're calling people in your neighborhood to see if they wanted a complimentary home equity analysis in a changing market. Equity analysis, what is that? I'm not looking to sell my home. Not looking to sell your home? Totally understand, and this is not a sales goal. We understand that for most homeowners, their home is their largest financial asset, and wanted to simply offer an equity analysis so you can understand the value of your home in a changing market. Sellers, you want to update me on my home's value, even though I have no interest in selling? That's correct. We believe every homeowner has the right to know the value of their home. We believe that every homeowner has the right to know the value of their home and get the equity and similar. There is an error here. Has a right to know the value of their home comma, similar to the same way you get the annual equity value of your stock portfolio with your financial planner. Would that be okay? Wow, that would be great. What do I need to do? Agent, I have a few questions for you, and I can prepare the information and share it with you through email or meet you in person, which works better for you. A few questions, if it's you've never been in the home, you didn't sell them the house, the condition, any updates they have, anything significant from the present condition you see the house being sold to the current condition it's in now from the MLS. And then you say, I would love to insert what they prefer, email you the information, meet you in purpose. Great. I will insert again what they want, and I'll be in touch and insert how long it'll take. Simple thing. Client, why are you calling me? I don't want to sell and don't need a realtor. Agent, I completely understand you don't want to sell or don't need a realtor. We simply believe every homeowner has a right to know the annual equity value in their home. If there's something you feel you can benefit from, happy to help. If not, no worries. And that's it. This is pretty direct, straight to the point. Now, what does this come down to? This comes down to discipline, consistency, and patience. The discipline to continue doing this over and over again, the consistency to know that the real success is in the numbers in this. And the patience is to understand that no matter what you do, the numbers will work out in your favor when doing this for a long enough period of time. Now think about this like going to a blackjack table. You know the saying, the house always wins? Because if you play long enough, the house will eventually take your money. Well, what I know is if you prospect enough, talk to enough people, eventually you will rake in all the commissions you want and more. So what are our steps? Number one, there are two groups of people that you want to send this to: likely to sells, as well as people in your database. I'd encourage you to call people in your database and start to email the likely to sells. Number two, I'd go with 5 and 5. I'd contact 5 likely to sells and 5 people a day. That's 10 contacts, 50 a week, 200 a month. So if you did 200 of these a month, converting at a 1% rate, that's 2 new sellers a month, 2 new listings for 5 and 5. So that is simply what I want you to do today. Today we have a treat. We have Coach Stephen Littman, who's both been in SGM at Compass. He was one of the first 100 employees here, as well as a coach for Tony Robbins. And he's going to walk you through some great action steps, being proactive, some hacks in your CRM with this, and another spin on likely to sell. So as always, with love in my heart, I love you all. I hope you have a powerful day. And Stephen, we'll kick it to you. Bye, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Chirag. Great information there. So what I want to do now is I want to share my screen, and I kind of want to continue where he leaves off. So he talks about discipline, consistency, patience, right? He talks about 5 and 5, 10 contacts a day, etc. So I want to kind of pause for just 2 seconds there. And I want to ask, by the way, can everybody see my screen now? Just give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay. If you would be so kind in the chat, and I know you just heard this seconds ago, so I'm just curious from where we are now, how many folks call it last Friday, right? The last work day, although real estate never sleeps, so it's more like a real estate Wednesday. But last Friday, just put yes in the chat if you contacted 10 people. Oh, come on, there's got to be at least one person. Was that you, Michelle? 5. Okay, great job, Tracy. Want to celebrate what we did do. Anybody 10? All right. So to the point, I didn't count. Way to go, Michelle. Good job. All right, let's just be positive and say you got 10 anyway. But what gets measured gets managed, right? So we want to make sure we're at least we know our numbers. But well done nonetheless. Okay, so here's what we want to do. We want to start with where we actually are. Yes, the numbers do work out. Yes, I have every confidence in the world that if you did do this consistently, you would get at a minimum 2 deals a month. And obviously math serves 24 deals a year and be insanely busy, ad infinitum, right? But what could potentially get in the way of us actually leveraging this tactic that Chirag just went over? Who's brave enough to come off mute and tell me what could get in the way or what does get in the way of leveraging this strategy? Current deals, well said. What else? Rejection. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Fear. Well said. All right. I think we all can agree that at some point it has something to do with an uncomfortability of doing this over and over. So my purpose today in the short time that we have together is to give you one way of approaching a tactic for overcoming that fear, something that's worked for me, something that's worked for a lot of people that I've coached, and hopefully you'll find it valuable. Okay. So the only thing that stops us, as you already called out, is really fear. So we don't feel comfortable reaching out to people, telling them that, they're on a likely to sell list or some version of that. And why are you calling me, right? So for me, I personally, I like to start with things that are very basic and let you create a customized script. I think scripting is great as a foundation, but it really has to be authentic to you. All right. So one of the things I don't want to overlook though, because we got and this will be available to you, so you don't have to take pictures. For those of you that are taking pictures of my screen, all this will be available to you. Don't worry. But I appreciate the fact that you do want to document it. So thank you. We got very heavy, at least with Chirag, on the home equity analysis. So I don't want, for anybody who's sitting there going like, yeah, but they probably, what if they don't want that, right? What do I do? So I want to start very, very basic and not get so narrow with home equity analysis. Although I think that given what he said, given the increases that we've seen since COVID, it's a very valuable approach. So here's how this script would go. Hi, obviously first name. So I'm just going to pick on someone random. Sean, if you don't mind, I'm going to pick on you, Sean, if that's okay. Hi, Sean. The reason for my call is, Compass technology, the Compass technology that I use just alerted me to some really interesting activity in your neighborhood, and then explain what that is. And so, yes, make this real, make this relevant, make this as specific as humanly possible. And whether that is, appreciation, a sale in a local community, a new tax assessment, whatever it is, make it specific. So I thought I'd reach out and I'd share that information with you. Look, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but here at Compass, we've actually invested millions over the years to create a technology that will enhance my ability to provide excellent service to you, my client, before, during, and after you buy a home. As such, I'm grateful we were able to connect over the phone today. Now, I'm aware that for a lot of us, the sentences in the middle there may not be our favorite. The technology, investing millions in the technology, etc., because it can come out a little bit pitchy, a little salesy. I get that. But I'm putting it in there almost as like a test to you, because I want you to see if you really do feel comfortable talking about all the innovations that Compass has created over the years, because it does make you unique. It allows you to stand out. And I can promise you that if you get very comfortable just talking about the things that you have at your fingertips, it will benefit your business. So that said, though, we go right into with this last line. As such, I'm grateful we're able to connect over the phone today. This is where you really want to pivot to. And this is the point I really want to make about this whole likely to sell campaign. This has got to be about human to human contact. This has got to be about relationship. This can't be about the numbers of the house and how likely it is to sell, because all of that is neocortex stuff, which we'll talk about here in just a slide. You got to get into the meat and potatoes, which is really just the relationship that you have with that person. So I kind of made a couple buckets here. Let's just say you know them and you have notes. That's the easiest one. Then you just get right back into where you left off, right? Last time we spoke, I know you were traveling to Italy with the family, Sean. Like, how was that? Did you guys have a blast? Blah, 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 blah. We keep on with the conversation, right? Let's say you know them, but you don't have notes, which is probably going to be a large majority of our CRM there, right? Just call that out. Gosh, how long has it been since we've last spoken? Listen, for nothing else, it is truly great to hear your voice. Quick caveat, please mean that when you say it, all right? People are smart. So if you don't mean that, don't say it, but try to mean it, right? Curiosity is going to win the day here. So it's great to hear your voice. When's the next time we can get together? And obviously calibrate that, right? Don't be a weirdo. If you only see this person at church and you've never had coffee with them, probably not going to be like, so are we getting coffee on Thursday? No, you're not, but you'll see them at church. Like, when's the next time I'm going to see you? You see them on the soccer field. You see them at the gym. If you do get coffee with these people, invite them to coffee or wherever it might be, right? But get in front of them, get FaceTime. That's the goal of the whole likely to sell really, is get FaceTime. If you don't know them, here's where I really want you to make that hard pivot where you literally say, and while technology is great, okay, we believe in using it to enhance our human interaction. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better. Would you perhaps be interested in, and then you want to direct them to the next step in their journey of having the best experience with you. David Severance talked about experiences 2 weeks ago. I'm gonna reiterate that. You really are creating an experience. So that can be a multitude of things. It's a one-on-one, which I covered. It's a group event. It's a a CMA or a market report. My best practice there, try to see if you can't get a Zoom setup or an in-person. In-person's obviously better, but that might be more difficult. At least a Zoom or a call where you walk people through. And the only reason is there's nothing wrong with sending a CMA. It will produce results. But if you can get that FaceTime, quote unquote, however you want to, identify that, you're going to find out a lot more about their story. And that's ultimately what you're trying to do here. You're trying to re-engage in what is their story and where are they in their journey. Again, you can add them to a collection or a vendor referral. I'll touch on that in just a quick second. Everybody good there so far? Give me a thumbs up if you're good there so far. Okay. Some of you are like, I've answered 7 emails since you've been talking. This is fantastic. Keep going. Okay, next. Common objections. All right. Let's just call a spade a spade. Thank you very much, Michelle. Let's call a spade a spade. A lot of people might say, yeah, home equity analysis, I'm good. We're not looking to sell. I pretty much know what my home's worth anyway. And they're getting that from, Redfin or Zestimate or whatever. We know that they may not be accurate, but I actually wouldn't argue that you want to combat that. Certain people it'll work with, but most people, sure. You think you know what you know, great. We always want to align with that person and say, fantastic. Look, since you're not selling your home, do you plan on doing any renovations or upgrades to the house? Reason I ask is I offer my vendor list and their preferred rates to all my clients who aren't looking to sell anytime soon, so they can have, the home of their dreams for themselves and their families. What do you plan to do to the house? Now, if they're not planning on doing anything, then you go to the next step. But if they are, just one quick note here, please, 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 after you make that introduction, provided it's a great vendor, so please make sure you vet your vendors, and they do the work, please follow up with that person. And for some of you are like, I always do that, so good. This is a reminder. But for others, I see too many people who are providing phenomenal referrals to other businesses, but they're not following up to get the ROI on that referral. So call that person. How's the new kitchen? Send me pictures. I can't wait to see it. When can I come over? Blah, 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 blah. That person, you just built social capital with that person. And then call the vendor as well, because the vendor's in people's homes every day. He's going to know, hey, is this person renovating the kitchen because they want to sell their house? Right? So make sure you are consistently following up with your vendors and your strategic alliances. All right. So let's go back to my little objections here. If they're not doing anything to the home, okay, great. Let them, say, keep me in mind for anybody that might be doing something to their home, because I'm really here to try to enhance everybody's experience of being in their home or finding the right home for them, right? And I'd be happy to help your friends save money, get the best service, blah, blah, blah. You calibrate how you want to say it. All right. In the meantime, since you seem to know the value of your home, how interested would you be in the value of everybody else's home around you? And you may find an opportunity to put them into a collection there. And when you do that, and if you were in my prospecting 101 class, you'll know what I'm talking about here, but set up the collection so that only you get notified, but it gives you an opportunity to have a very low friction touch point where you're not calling them, but you're dropping in a new listing into their collection. You're seeing if they engage with it, et cetera. But it gives an opportunity for you to have future engagement. All right. So if they say yes to that, great. I'll alert you to what's coming up available in the next couple of months, blah, 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 blah. Right. What this does is every time there's a sale in that community, you now have the green light to give them a call, talk about it. Your thoughts on it, their thoughts on it. And what you're going to do is you're going to build trust that entire time. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Now, let's just say, for the sake of posterity here in the last few minutes that we have, that you got a really difficult person and they're saying no to everything. Okay, I know the value of my home. I've got my Zestimate. I'm not selling, I'm not upgrading. I don't give a shit, frankly, excuse my French, about what everybody else is selling in the neighborhood. This is just not interesting at all to me, right? They're like this close to being like, hey, just take me off your list entirely. This is where I would highly recommend that you go to an event prospecting cycle. This is one of the things I talk about a lot in my one-on-ones. For me, I think the biggest thing that slows business growth is, I'll call it contact reluctance, right? It doesn't have to just be call reluctance, it's contact reluctance. And one of the easiest ways to overcome that for me, have a reason to call, right? Most of the time, what slows us down is we think the reason to call isn't really justifiable enough. And so we don't pick up that phone, we don't send that text, or whatever the case may be. If you have some kind of event that is happening where you can really create FaceTime. And again, event could be literally just you and them having coffee, or it could be a massive, you know, thing that you've put together. It doesn't really matter, but it gives you so many opportunities to contact and touch these people. You're inviting them, you're reminding them, you're interacting with them, you're thanking them, you're posting about it, so if you so choose, right? And so you've all these very like easy touch points that just naturally flow when you've got an upcoming event of some sort. So that's my recommendation for getting over. If you're sitting there saying, I didn't have 10 people a day that I'm contacting and I didn't even have 5, I highly recommend create some sort of event that you have upcoming in 2 months, and you'll see that it'll take a lot of the stress off of you reaching out. Okay. If you need any advice on events, or if you would like a resource, click the client event playbook here in the slides as you get them. Many of you have probably already seen this before, but if you haven't, it's a great resource on just best practices from events, all different types of events, if you so choose to put them together. And then the last thing I want to touch on before I open this up to Q&A is like, if you've seen this before, you know, this is a great reminder, but if you haven't, this is really just an oversimplification of why we run into trouble when we are making phone calls, when we are talking about likely to sells, etc. So when we're talking about likely to sells and we're saying your home has appreciated 17% in the last 18 months, right? That is coming from the neocortex. That is coming from, call it the rational, the logical brain, right? The problem is it's not being received there. It's being received in this sort of very primitive croc brain, as it's colloquially called, right? And what that part of the brain is designed to do is really to sense danger and to see if there's a threat. So while you're over here talking about how like, hey, we do this to home equity analysis for people, and we found the financial portfolio and all the other mumbo jumbo, when you're doing that, the person's brain is going, is this going to be a threat? What do they want? Why am I getting called? I don't like this. Okay. And so that's why I feel like if you can just level with people and very quickly pivot to the human side of things, you're going to find that you get through the croc brain a lot faster. Then if you go to an event invitation of some kind, whatever, however small or big, you're going to get into this midbrain section. That's the tribal, that's the social proof. That's the, oh, okay, I know you through this person, that person, or you could help me with this, that, and the other thing because you know this vendor, etc. Then you can get to the neocortex part where you really can add value and show what you do on a day-to-day basis. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. And again, you know, if you're wondering kind of where this all stems from, this stems from Donald Miller's A Story Brand. So if you haven't read that, highly recommend. But if you have, here's a good refresher of the SB7 guide. And ultimately what this is you need to communicate in every interaction that you are the guide for them, right? So you'll see a character who is not you, that's the person you're calling, has a problem. Now, they may not know they have a problem, but they do. We all have things that have yet to be solved. They meet a guide who gives them a plan, calls them to action, and helps them to avoid failure and enjoy success, right? So it's really important that when you're calling, and this is where I'll leave you before I open it up for questions, it's really important that when you're calling, you are calling from kind of a mission level, if that makes sense. You're calling because you care. And I know that sounds corny, but you care. You want to make sure that they have the best experience in their current home, or if they have their needs have changed, that you're right there to help them and service them to find a better fit for their current needs with their family. Maybe they're growing, whatever it might be, but that's why you're calling, right? And so that mission really colors your outreach, which then gets showcased in every event or interaction, every experience that you have. And that ultimately leads them to seeing the value of your service, which goes back to your mission. Does that make sense to everybody? Who has questions? Feel free to come off mute. I'm happy to answer any that come up. Makes sense. Okay, I like that. Any questions? Going once, going twice? Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. It was an honor to spend 30 minutes with you. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to CSC. We're here to help. Have a great day. Bye.